You welcome in. Movie recap. Today we are going to tell you the story of a movie called Yip Man 2. As of 2010, this movie is a sequel to the first Yip Man movie. Tell us the story of Yip Man's journey after leaving Foshan and moving to Hong Kong. At the beginning of the movie, we see some flashbacks from the previous movie. We also showed Xuan, who was shot by the Japanese forces. The movie starts when Ken takes Yip Man to a rooftop hall in Hong Kong where the Yip Man teaches Wing Chun. But after 8 days of being there, still no student logged in. In the evening, Yip Man finally comes home and helps him. His pregnant wife takes some water. He lives as an immigrant who has nothing. At home, their door, the landlord collected the rent, but they chose not to answer because they got it. No money to pay the bill. The next day, Yip Man is visited by an unknown teenager carrying his academy handbook when he helps his neighbor dry clothes. He thought the guy was up to it. He enrolls in his academy, but when the Yip Man explains to him about Wing Chun, the guy in W cut him off. He challenged Yip Man to a duel instead. He says he will pay if he loses. Yip Man smiled at him, and before the challenge and the duel begins, Yip Man fights him calmly at first, without injury, touches Yip Gloss. Then he started throwing his dangerous punches and managed to knock him down. Finally, the employer demands the promised salary, but the man leaves him instead. In the evening, the man returned with 3 men behind him to gather in the Yip Man. There they mocked Yip Man. Then the Yip Man will chase them away if they are not about to learn Wing Chun. But they insisted. Then a 1 versus 4 battle happened. Yip Man easily defeats them and leaves. But soon after, the unknown man named Liang knelt down, ready to be a student of Yip Man. Apparently 3 men got down on their knees and asked the Yip Man to be his students too. Yip laughed at the gloss. He asked them to pay their fees first. The next day, he explains the Yip Man to Wing Chun, his students, and trains them. Then his students increase day by day. One evening, Yip Man charges their student fees, but Yip Man does not collect payments aggressively if any are in poor financial condition. At night, when he was about to buy some sweets, Yip Man was startled by the noise of the duck. The population pursues the thief. Feeling familiar, he willingly pushed the duck. The thief runs away, but his son takes Yip Man to him. I can't believe his eyes, Yip Man. When he encounters his longtime best friend, Xuan goes mad. He even relapses when Yip Man attempts to approach him. Yip Man has really destroyed it by sight. He blamed himself. Then Chu told him about it. His father became this way after being shot in the head. Then Yip Man says so. Sometimes he can't give him food because he does weird things. Then Yip Man promises he must take care of his father together. The next day, Yip Man brings Chu to Can recruit him. One day, when Loon was sticking flyers on the wall, some guy teased him. Hong Academy students. Liang then accepted the duel's challenge. It was a one-on-one duel at first, but after he wins the duel, he is immediately crushed by the rest of Hong's students. On the other hand, a student from Hong Kong visited Yip Man and asked him to go to the fish market. Liang demanded a ransom for what the Liang had done to their brothers. When they got to the fish market, Liang released. Then he explained everything to Yip Man. Then the student asks Hong about the Yip Man, the ransom, but Yip Man refuses. Then they gathered on Yip Man. Yip Man deals with them calmly. But again, they fired the second blow, and this time with weapons in their hands. Yip Man defends himself with a wooden pallet, until Yip Man finally managed to take 2 machetes. They were trapped. Then Yip Man decided to take a hostage to escape. But in the middle of the road, on the other side, a group of people came running. Turns out there was Jin, the traveler from previous movie. But then Jin let the Yip Man go and begged him for his machetes. But not long ago, the Yip Man is again banned, but by Master Hong and his students. Then Yip Man introduces himself and explains Hong's mastery requirement. Mr. Hong got angry and said that the Yip Man Academy, he does not have a permit, and Yip Man needs a duel for every kung fu master in Hong Kong. No, after a long time, Mr. Hong went to the police office with his friend to give boxing ticket money. He asked for his share too, but was knocked out by the Western constable instead. At night, Yip Man's wife asks him to give up his teaching career, but he insisted and tried to calm his wife. The next day, all the kung fu masters gather around a big white table for the fencing arena. After not too long, Yip Man has arrived. Mr. Hong then introduces Yip Man to fellow kung fu masters and command him to stay alive until the incense runs out or lose. Then the Yip Man climbs up to the table with the first kung fu master. He beats kung fu master without any problem. Then the second master came, and again, Ip Man manages to lock him up until he surrenders, until Mr. Hong finally came up to the table and fights Ip Man. The fight is so exciting that the Fu masters start to watch more seriously. They both fight well, are strong and agile. The fight ends when the table splits and both manage to stay on top of the table when incense ran out. Then Ip Man got his permit, but Mr. Hong asked him to pay the monthly fee, just like other academies. But he refused. He said he would welcome any dueling challenges, but no to pay any fees on their behalf. Upon hearing this, Master Hong threatened Ip Man and told him to do so. Keep his eyes open. Soon after, Mr. Hong sat down and drank herbal medicine for asthma. The next day, a man saw a beanie from Hong Academy, which blocked some people from searching for Wing Chun Academy in Ip Man. Feeling uncomfortable with it, Liang then throws urns which start a quarrel between two academies. In the evening, Kan asks Ip Man to empty his teaching space due to the incident of the fight. Ip Man understands his request, but then visits Mater Hong to protest his request. Student dead. Master Hong justifies that having a Kung Fu Academy in Hong Kong is everything, because of its close relationship with the West. He then challenges Ip Man to another duel. But in the middle of the fight, Master Hong's son suddenly passed by. Fortunately, Ip Man has managed to load it. Then Mr. Hong's wife and their children appeared. Invite Mr. Hong to dinner. HTNE Ip Man requests permission to leave. The next day, Mr. Hong visited Ip Man's institute while teaching. Mr. Hong will call him, watch Western boxing match. Then he leaves him, at which point they officially become friends. Soon after, Mr. Hong went to the boxing ring and asked the Western policeman about it. Men's salary in exchange for setting up the arena. But instead an angry cop. He threatened to close the fish market. Then his friend Fatso convinced him to understand. If not, people may become unemployed if the fish market is closed. At night, the event took place. It was opened by students of HNG Academy. Then Mr. Hong said Ip Man to send his disciple to perform as well. There was also Twister, the boxer, attending the opening. It happened. Watching Kung Fu shows, Twister said that Chinese boxing is nothing more than a dance show. Then he gets on stage to provoke them. Then he attacks them all. He also said that Chinese boxing is nothing. Offended, the Kung Fu masters stepped onto the square and started a brawl. Then, Master Hong and Ip Man also stepped onto the square to separate them. Ip Man runs to, defends himself from Twister's blows. Then Mr. Hong dodges Twister's blow and becomes furious. They demand an apology from Twister. He refused, then said he was going. I apologize if only Mr. Hong can hit him in the ring. Mr. Hong agreed, and the fight happened. Mr. Hong went through the first round just fine. Ip Man worried about it and Mr. Hong suggests he go get his arms instead. Mr. Hong agrees. Throw many successful punches in the second round. But unfortunately, Mr. Hong fell by one of the big Twister icons. Mr. Hong got up, blew the tornado, and took a deep breath. Then his students realized that his asthma flared up. In the timeout, Ip Man proposes to Mr. Hong to give up fighting. Mr. Hong insisted. He said he couldn't accept anyone trying to make fun of him. Kung Fu. Soon after the round continued, a lot of hurricane punches hit Master Hong. Ip Gloss. He tries to give up, but is stopped by Mr. Hong. Get up and keep fighting. But he has asthma. He broke out again in the middle of the fight, saw the advantage, and then the hurricane hit Mr. Hong mercilessly. The referee sent his signal. The match ended, and Master Hong died. Ip Man then comes to Master Hong's funeral to pay his last respects. The next day, Twister and his team hold a press conference. They refuse to sign as murderers, saying that Mr. Hong's death occurred because he himself was weak. Tornado. He also ridiculed how the Chinese used incense as a timer. Soon after, Ip Man suddenly appeared by saying that they also use incense in prayer. He also challenged Twister to a duel. The next day, Ip Man moves his family to his neighbor so he can train freely. He also took some. It's time to serve Xuan food. At that time, he was also singing on the suite, about to give birth. But she doesn't want to bother training Ip Man. Finally, the important match day came. Everyone listened to the match on the radio channel. In ring, Ip Man runs straight ahead after he sees Twister come onto the ring. But the verdict, returning him to his corner. The Western audience laughed mockingly at this sight. Then the fight begins. At first, Ip Man seems overwhelmed by his agility and strength. Everyone begins to worry when one of Hurricane's punches knocks him out, but luckily, he manages to get up and everyone cheers for him because he also managed to bring down the hurricane. In the second round, Ip Man also manages to throw 1,000 blows into the hurricane, but the tornado deftly hits Ip Man after the ringing of the bell. The audience went crazy. Sing, feeling aggrieved, the jury had a discussion which resulted in a kick ban for Yip Man in 3rd round. If he refuses, it's a win for Twister. There the Cyclone beats Yip Man completely. Was down, but then he remembered what Mr. Hong had said. He got up. He targeted Twister's arms several times until he managed to knock Twister down. Hit his face repeatedly. The referee counts down and so do the people listening to the match. Hurricane was declared a loss. Everyone celebrated Yip Man's victory. Then Yip Man gave a speech. He said it was not about which kung fu is better in boxing, but it was all about respect between each other. He does not wish to offend anyone in the future. Western audiences gave him a standing ovation for his meaningful speech. After the match, Yip Man rushes to his wife and her newborn. Days later, Yip Man is visited by a young boy who wants to learn Wing Chun. Yip gloss. He laughed and asked him his name. And the boy tells Yip Man that his name is Bruce Lee. And the movie ends. See you in the next video.